What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 3. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the TYR pistol. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile. And with this gun, it's always going to be a 1 to 2 shot kill, depending on where in the body you're shooting them as well as the range. And it is worth noting that bonus damage zone where we're capable of getting a 1-shot kill to the body, this includes the upper torso and the shoulders. Anywhere else aside from the neck and head, of course, this won't be a 1-shot kill at all to the body in core game modes. And when it does come to that head and neck damage, we're actually capable of getting a 1-shot kill at any range as long as you hit those zones. Next, let's get into our rate of fire, which is quite interesting with this gun, because the first thing you need to know is there is a pre-fire delay. This is to simulate the fact that we're firing a double-action revolver, so when you pull the trigger, the gun doesn't go off immediately. By default, there's a 90 millisecond delay. As a result, when you mix this in with the stated rate of fire value in the advanced stats, that's not actually what you experience in the game, and that's what I really care about, is what you actually experience. How fast can you spam the gun? And in that case, our rate of fire is 132 rounds per minute, which isn't amazing by any means. There's definitely a bit of a gap between those shots. And what this means is with a 2-shot kill, we're killing in 455 milliseconds, but this doesn't include the pre-fire delay on the first shot that you fire. I personally like leaving those pre-fire delays out, well, just acknowledging the fact that they are also there. And we can actually cut this down with various trigger attachments. And the best trigger attachment that I highly recommend using, this is Utter's Fury, which gives us a pre-fire delay of 60 milliseconds, so a nice improvement there. And what this means is not only do we get that shot off sooner, which is very important with this gun, we also get a faster experienced rate of fire at 156 rounds per minute, which means we're now killing in just 385 milliseconds, which is a very nice improvement over the base. After that, we have Odin's Judgment, which hurts our pre-fire delay and our rate of fire, so I would just immediately recommend staying far away from this attachment. I see no good reason to use this. And then finally for triggers, we have Ali's Regret, and this one also improves our rate of fire and our pre-fire delay, just not as much as that first trigger that we talked about. So there we go, those are the triggers. Now let's get into our damage ranges, and as we can see here, our 1-shot kill potential to the body, so to that upper torso or shoulder zone, this is 11.4 meters, which isn't great by any means, but like I said earlier, we do have an infinite 1-shot kill potential to the neck or the head, so at longer ranges, you can just really try to line up that headshot for a 1-shot kill. And also, our bullet velocity is not very good with this. It's 310 meters per second, and that can definitely affect your ability to hit moving targets at longer ranges. Also, you have to account for that bullet drop, especially if you're trying to get that perfect headshot at a really long range. You do have to aim a little bit high on that so you drop the bullet in. Also, when it comes to hardcore game modes, I just want to point out this is going to be a 1-shot kill at any range, anywhere in the body, as long as you're not shooting through any form of cover. Then let's have a look at our hipfire, and our minimum hipfire isn't quite as good as the other pistols. Most of them are at like 2 degrees per second. This one is 2.2 degrees per second. Still not horrible though by any means. And then our maximum hipfire spread, in the menus, it's stated as 12.5 degrees per second, which is insanely wide. However, that's not what I actually experience when I'm in the game. Even when I'm jumping and sliding, it doesn't seem to get that wide. So what you're seeing in this graphic is how much it actually spreads compared to the minimum, which honestly isn't all that bad and not nearly as bad as the menus make it out to be. After that, let's talk about recoil, and this gun has a ridiculous amount of visual recoil. That gun kicks up so much it completely covers your target. However, without any attachments, this gun recenters almost perfectly between each of the shots since it has quite a bit of time to recenter between shots, and as a result, we actually don't see a whole lot of recoil with this gun. In saying that though, I highly recommend using the trigger that gives you the best possible fire rate, and in this case, there's less time to recenter between shots, and therefore you will start to see some real recoil pop up here if you're spamming at the maximum fire rate, and this is something you may have to account for with either attachments or just your playstyle. Next, let's get into our handling stats, and our aim down sight time is a bit on the slow side for pistols at least, at 210 milliseconds. This is still quite fast and very comparable to like an SMG. And then when it comes to our sprint out time, this is excellent. It's just 48 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 100 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. After that, let's talk a little bit about our reload add time, and this one actually has 2 separate timings for the reload. If you've only fired 1 to 2 rounds and you want to get a reload in, this is going to take you 2.99 seconds to get that reload completed, because in those cases, you're reloading those rounds individually. If you ever need to reload more than 2 rounds, so from 3 to 5 rounds, now you're going to be reloading using a speed loader, which actually takes a bit longer in this case at 3.54 seconds. So the way I see it, if you fired just 1 or 2 rounds and you don't anticipate that you're going to run into any enemies in the near future, just get a quick reload in because it will be slightly faster than if you wait and fire another shot or 2 and then need to reload. But then finally, for the base gun, let's get into our mobility stats, and across the board, this is a bit on the slow side when it comes to pistols, but in saying that, it's still going to be quite fast when you compare it to most of the primary guns in this game. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for all of the important base stats with the TYR pistol. Now let's get into some attachments, and we have some very unique ones here. Let's start this off with the JAK Beholder Rifle Kit. Because with this one, it does change up our damage profile. Instead of having 4 different damage ranges, now we only have 3. And it's only going to be a one-shot kill to the body in that first damage range. However, that range is significantly better than if we aren't using this kit. And what this means is we can now get a one-shot kill to the upper torso or shoulders out to 19.3 meters, which is a very nice improvement over the base gun. Also, just like with the base version of the gun, this will maintain a one-shot kill potential to the neck or head out to an infinite range. And not only that, we do get a bullet velocity boost here, so it's now boosted up to 465 meters per second, which will help a bit when you're trying to stretch that range out. Now, unfortunately, there are some handling penalties when using this. Our aim down sight time is now 280 milliseconds, which is definitely noticeably slower than the base, and our sprint to fire time is increased by 50%, but honestly, this is still an amazing sprint out time in this game, and it generally shouldn't be an issue for you. After that, I did want to show off the recoil as well, because that's one of the benefits with this kit, is it will cut down on your recoil, and we can definitely see that there. It recenters even better than the base version of this gun, which is great. And more importantly, if you are using the trigger with the fastest possible fire rate, this has very noticeably less recoil while using this kit compared to when you aren't using this kit and still using that same trigger. So it actually recenters quite nicely while having that very noticeably faster rate of fire. And then finally with this kit, it is worth mentioning it does harm all of our movement speeds by a noticeable margin, so you're not going to be able to sprint around the map nearly as quickly. And there we go, that's going to wrap it up for the JAK Beholder Rifle Kit, and honestly, I love this attachment. This is one of my favorite ways to use the TYR, but in saying that, that's not the only important attachment that's worth mentioning here that really significantly changes the gun. Another thing we can do is in the ammunition slot, we can use Snakeshot Ammo, which converts this into a pocket shotgun. And with this, it's pretty basic. I just want to show you guys the ranges. We can only hit our enemies at 14.5 meters, which is not a very good range, even for a shotgun. That's not a very good range at all. And in that range, it's generally going to take you 3 shots to kill, whereas our 2-shot kill potential is 12 meters, and our very consistent 2-shot kill is 8 meters. And that's where you could even be hip firing, and you'll generally still be getting a 2-shot kill with this. It is also worth noting that with this Snakeshot Ammo, it will never be a 1-shot kill. Even at point blank range to the head, it's still going to be a 2-shot kill for you. Which is why this is generally best paired with the Akimbo attachment, so you can have 2 pocket shotguns, 1 in each hand, and we will be sharing a class setup with that toward the end of the video. But first, we have a couple other builds that I wanted to share for you guys, and the first build is my Quickdraw build, and this is if you just want to use sort of the standard pistol without any conversions on it. And with this, since we are using the fastest trigger possible, which we will be using on all of our builds, we want to cut down on that recoil as much as we can. So we're using the T51R billeted break, the SL skeletal vertical underbarrel, the ZO16 heavy long barrel, and then finally IR's respite, which is what allows us to have quick draw. And this means when swapping from a primary weapon, we can get our shot off roughly 45% faster than if we weren't using this rear grip. Now with this, even though we tried to cut down on that recoil, we are still seeing more recoil than we'd see with the base gun with no attachments, so that's just something you have to be aware of and ready for. I wouldn't be trying to spam this at longer ranges. Our aim down sight speed and our sprint out time, they're basically the same as the base. They're very slightly slower, but by a negligible amount. Since we're using that long barrel, we will slightly improve our one-shot kill potential to the body at 13.9 meters. And then finally, our bullet velocity is improved a little bit at 341 meters per second. This is still quite a slow bullet velocity though. So there we go, that's the first one, kind of a bare bones version of the TYR, and honestly, not my preferred way of running this by any means. I just wanted to make sure I was sharing a build without using a kit or an ammo conversion. Next, let's talk about my favorite way to use the TYR. This is my rifle build. So with this, of course, we're using that JAK Beholder Rifle Kit. We're once again using that best trigger for this, the SL Skeletal Vertical Underbarrel, the FJX Dido 70 Laser, which is going to help us a lot with our aim down sight speed, our aiming stability, and our sprint to fire time. So lots of great benefits here, but this laser is visible when you're aiming down sight, so that's just something to be aware of. And then finally, we've got the MWIII reflector on this. Now with this, we can see, even with that faster fire rate trigger, there's still very little recoil with this, so it's even spammable at longer ranges, no problem for a 2-shot kill. Our aim down sight speed is a bit slower than the base, but honestly not that bad at 245 milliseconds. Our sprint out time is also noticeably slower than the base, but still amazing at 74 milliseconds. Our new one-shot kill range with this to the body is 19.3 meters, which is a massive improvement compared to the base version of this gun. And then of course you can always get a one-shot kill to the head or the neck, even at longer ranges, and that's going to be made a little bit easier due to our bullet velocity being 465 meters per second. And there we go, that's my rifle build, and like I said, my preferred method of using this gun. You can use this as a primary weapon just fine and just kind of quickscope with it, which is a lot of fun to use. And now, as promised, let's get into my Akimbo Snakeshot build. And with this one, of course, we're using the Akimbo rear grip, the Snakeshot Ammo. We once again have that same trigger we use on all of our setups. We're also once again using that Z016 heavy long barrel, and then finally the CS15 Scarlet mounted laser. And with this one, our hipfire spread by default is just 0.4 degrees per second, so it's very, very tight here, although this laser is visible from the hip, so that is something to be aware of while using these. Also, while our spread does increase a little bit as we fire, it's not that bad. It's actually not a really significant increase. Our sprint out time is very fast with this at just 52 milliseconds. Our maximum hit range is unfortunately only 11.8 meters. Which isn't very good at all, but in saying that, this is a very consistent two-hit kill at 9.2 meters. So essentially, if you're within the range that you can hit people with this, you're almost always going to be able to get a two-shot kill with this, which is great considering the fact that you can fire both of these guns at the exact same time, so it's effectively like a one-shot kill. So as a result, I find these are excellent if you're playing on like small map playlists, for instance, or if it's a secondary that you want to have on your class that's strictly designed to dominate in close quarter situations, while being essentially useless beyond close range. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the TYR. As for my thoughts on this gun, well, I'm not a big fan of this gun at all when you're not using that rifle kit or you're not using snake shots. When you put that rifle kit on, I actually really enjoy using this. Like I said, I'll treat it like a primary weapon a lot of the times and kind of just run around quick scoping with it, and I find that to be quite enjoyable. And on top of that, using this Akimbo with snake shots can also be quite fun if you're keeping yourself in really close quarter situations. Now, of course, those are just my opinions of the TYR, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun in those comments down below. And if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.